So hey everyone, latest video, and this is kind of a double whammy if you like. I didn't actually post last weekend's ride video in any way, despite I guess actually intending to. So it's actually been my last week at work before a couple of weeks off for holiday. So as per usual, and I guess like everybody out there, the last week always goes a little bit mad, just because you're trying to sort of squeeze so much in really. So yeah, it was actually only this morning, which is kind of almost a week on, that I realised that I'd never actually put kind of anything together. So yeah, as I said, a bit of a double whammy. There's a bit of footage in here that was recorded on about, what it would have been, the 3rd of June, something like that. So good weather in the UK has carried on a little bit longer. And aside from that, there wasn't really a fat lot to actually say about this ride. There was no kind of close passes, there was no chat with cyclists, there was pretty much zero. So it was kind of, I don't know, 2 hours and 20, something like that, 2.5 hours maybe, just for around about 50 miles. Again, as per standard, when the weather's pretty good, there is a lot of cyclists out, but yeah, and obviously the roads are pretty quiet as well. So left the house kind of 7 o'clock, which always makes a difference in terms of the traffic. Pretty nice, simple route, little bit of climbing in there, but nothing really spectacular. As I've touched on in previous videos, you have to kind of look for them where I live. So it's pretty easy to, you know, kind of miss any of the big climbs, but they're not really big in comparison to, you know, actual big climbs. So yeah, not really an awful lot to say about it, and that's probably really, I guess, what kind of didn't prompt me to actually put anything together. And I just touched on there a little bit around close passes, so just a bit of a comment around that. There seems to be this kind of increasing number of attacks on motorists. Now, first and foremost, yeah, these motorists are in the wrong, and they're making very silly comments and leaving themselves open, but some of these videos that are being posted as kind of close passes are a bit odd to me. You know, we've got cyclists riding on very busy roads and then complaining that kind of cars are going past them fast. It's like, well, the speed limit on that road is 50 or 60 miles an hour. You know, yeah, I'm sure some of the motorists are speeding, but you know, that's just to be expected if you really don't want cars moving past you fast or even potentially feeling close. Ride on country roads, or just expect it. So I'm not going to say any more on that because I'll end up probably being attacked, but there does certainly seem to be an increase in trend, I guess, of people like picking arguments with motorists. And as you've seen from a couple of my videos, even one recently as well, there was some, you know, pretty dangerous cyclists out there as well. So for me, we share the road. We're not going to get away from that, certainly not anytime soon. We don't have the cycling infrastructure that any of the other countries do. Yeah, we've just somehow got to learn to, I guess, share the road a little bit better. And everybody take that extra care. And really, for me, it comes down to kind of just being more considerate. So that's that. So despite not actually editing and putting anything together for this particular video, that isn't to say that I haven't been doing anything or preparing anything. So yeah, I am going to be away, which is going to mean I'm going to be offline for at least a week. So I have been actually editing and putting a couple of videos together. Something that I think I mentioned very briefly, because I wasn't kind of 100% sure how I was going to do it. But I've managed to kind of work that out and actually edit and upload 3 videos. So So it's a Ride London series, and each of those episodes, so I have split it out into 3 episodes. Um, each of them focuses on the main climbs, in inverted commas, because for some people these are really just small lumps in the road. But there's a handful of people that I know are kind of based in the Midlands and they're first time riders of Ride London. So kind of keeping those guys in mind, as well as, obviously a wider audience. I've created 3 episodes. So the first one is Newlands Corner, second one Leaf Hill, and the third one Box Hill. And actually kind of bolted onto the end of Box Hill is actually a little bit around sort of the running. So I think off the top of my head, 'cause it was a few days ago that I actually recorded this, Box Hill I think finishes at around about 65, 66 miles, so that leaves kind of 30 to 35 miles. So yeah, I have just bolted kind of some of those closing miles in on the end of that video as well. And really just kind of some thoughts and some of the things that might be going through your head when you kind of get to that point. So yeah, unfortunately, it wasn't possible to put it together as one. I did think about doing that and actually kind of posting the times, actually through the video as to when each of those climbs or each of those sections actually came in. But the video was still coming in at around about 22 to 25 minutes long. And for me, that's just too long. These kind of shorter and snappier videos always work better. Having said that, this one's probably going to be around about the 18-minute mark if I'm not careful. So yeah, the only thing I need to really work out with that is actually the release schedule. I don't know whether to do it maybe every Sunday, maybe release them Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm really not too sure. I think what I'll probably do is release episode 1 and kind of see how that goes. If there's a fair amount of interaction, then I will release them weekly. So keep your eyes peeled for that. It's quite difficult to kind of keep everybody in mind as far as mixed abilities and kind of put a few pointers together. So I have tried my best to do that. They're not jargon filled, we're certainly not talking power to weight ratios. So hopefully you enjoy, and if it isn't a ride that you've done before and you are in the UK or at least have the means of travelling, I would definitely recommend putting yourself forward in the ballot. If you get lucky, it is a fantastic ride. Having those closed roads is just a completely different experience. And yeah, having done it twice, first year was a little bit mixed. I did enjoy it, but I always thought I was capable of kind of doing more. And so actually the second time I did it, I did it completely on my own. And I always said whatever happened in terms of time or performance, the outcome, then that was me kind of done with Ride London. And yeah, so this is actually the first year since the first year that I did it where I haven't had kind of the option of being able to do it. And yeah, there is a little bit of me that's kind of a little bit disappointed. But hey, I'll get over it. For once, I'll try and watch it on the TV or something. So that's also Ride London. From there, whatever the date will be, I guess it's probably going to be around about June the 10th. So sometime around there, we'll put another ride video together as pretty standard. And then the only other thing to mention, which I have a feeling I did actually put this video together, but I think it's sitting there at the moment in private. I don't think I scheduled it properly. It was just around Strava and how ridiculous that platform is. Actually, in that video, I'm moaning and calling it the Facebook of training apps. Well, it's got worse in this last week. I don't know if this is a new function or whether it's something that's just kind of been enabled for me, but every time anybody that I follow uploads a new activity, I'm getting an alert to tell me that one of my friends has done this and one of my friends has done that. And geez, is that not Facebook? I mean, I'm not on Facebook, but it just smacks of it to me. And yeah, in that video, I basically moan about how bad Strava is and the idiots that it attracts and how premium just isn't worth it. And I stand by that. If you've seen the new Trainer Road training analytics, it just blows that thing to bits. Yeah, Strava's still obviously got all the segments that are basically reliant on, in most cases, how strong the wind was blowing that day. or whether or not you can drive a car slow enough and smooth enough so that somebody doesn't pick it up in the power and flag it. But that's basically what that app has done. And for anybody who does follow me on Strava, you'll see that I posted something like a 210-mile-an-hour trip from Brussels back to London, and I basically did that on the Eurostar. And you know, back in the day, somebody would have flagged that, but not now, because as I say, it's just become the Facebook of training apps. And I get that they need the money. You know, ultimately, the more people who kind of pay for premium and the more people using the platform, higher advertising revenues, and then they can invest, in theory, and put back into the app. But it's just going more and more mainstream. And for me, it is not a training app anymore. It's a kind of social media platform and a means of being able to either share or show off. So for me, for people who are serious about improving, it's dead. And finally, I don't know whether it was in the same video, but certainly in one of those videos, I also mentioned the fact that I am on the hunt for next project bike. So I think I've got that in mind. Bike doesn't actually exist yet, so I'm banking on Specialized actually putting the model that I want together for release of the 2019 bikes. So it's fine, doesn't cause me any hassles. In reality, wasn't even thinking about purchasing until probably early next year, so that'll be kind of early spring, February, March time. I did buy Best Bike once pre-Christmas, and apart from a couple of ride outs on fairly pleasant days, the bike just sat in the garage, so there's no point in having kind of money tied up for that amount of time. Okay, so we'll start to wrap this up. Just before we do so, I just want to say a massive thank you to all my new subscribers. It's pretty obvious what's kind of triggered this increase. It's like I've said before, it's really bike reviews or kind of very high-end product reviews that really drive the subscribers, which is completely understandable. So actually what seems to have driven the activity recently is the Specialized Diverge. That was a long-term review, and there's been some fantastic interaction and some very positive feedback. I always appreciate that. Really good to hear. And of course, anything that that I can improve on, that's welcome. Maybe not as welcome, but yeah, it is. Jokes aside, I do appreciate the feedback and the interaction. Always very welcome. So now that we're kind of in the height of UK summer, Diverge is probably not going to get the same amount of use. I would like to try and get out on it a little bit more, but when the roads are dry and the sun's shining, it's very appealing to kind of go out and do 2-3 hours on the road, especially if I'm out early in the morning because the roads are quiet. But I will be back to that bike pretty soon. There's still a lot more that I can kind of talk about around it. And obviously only having that middle of the road model, it's always good to hear from people who actually own the more expensive and higher end models as well. So as always, any comments, questions, drop them in the section below. Please give me a big thumbs up, subscribe if you would like to see more, and thank you very much for watching.